Yo, check me out, I'm elderb. It's another Kerbal Space Sundays, specifically the second Kerbal Space Sunday. Last week we basically got started in career mode, built ourselves a little science rover, scooted around to the different buildings, launched some suborbital, ooh, this is a tough one today, suborbital missions. Success. I got some science there. I realized today when I was getting ready for the stream, we didn't use any of our other Kerbals, so Jeb is the only one getting any experience. We'll change that today. But today, we're going at least into orbit. That's going to be a relatively simple task. I think we acquired quite a bit of science as I'm looking at the main menu to load into our save. We have 245 science, so we'll be able to spend that first thing here before we continue our adventure. I'd also like to build a plane today, so we can do some of the targeted observation missions and things like that, and generally just kind of scoot around Kerbin and check some stuff out. Plus, I would like to build planes. Without any further yapping in the intro aspect of it, tea of the evening is Earl Grey. It's time for a Kerbal Space Program. So I briefly remember kind of scoping around in the R&D building last time and seeing what it made sense for unlocks. 245 is pretty significant, but obviously the further down the tree you go, the more expensive things get. So we don't have a ton, realistically, of extra science to spend. Oh man, you don't get struts until there. I think that's going to be necessary sooner than later. Engine plate. I actually don't know what that does. I don't think I've ever used that, whatever that may be. I'm assuming that's like an adapter that you can kind of sequentially stack. Okay, so that's kind of a maybe. I'm not really concerned about that. It does give you the protective shell, which will be important later, at least in the next one. But that's 135. I don't think we have much in the way of engines right now, because the swivel gimbals and the Reliant, I believe one of them is a more powerful part than the other, but one gimbals and one doesn't. Now the swivel would, you would think, yeah, there we go, aid and craft control. T30, blah blah blah. Okay, so the 30 is 205 and 240 on the thrust. Yeah, alright. So the Reliant is more powerful. The swivel actually aids in maneuverability for craft. You get the larger solid fuel booster and the bigger tank. So I think general rocketry is kind of a must-have. I don't know. Oh, fireworks canisters. I was going to say, that's a new part since I had played last, but that's funny. Just fireworks. I like those, the Thud engines for landers. The Terrier's good for, like, moon landers as well. So we could do 65 there. I almost certainly need this. So aerodynamics is in a touch further for making our plane. I don't think the Weasley's a very big engine is the problem. We do have, there was a decent enough engine that I think comes stock without having to research anything. So we'll check that out too. But I think for today, with 245, because I kind of need to consider what's going to get us more science, plus, you know, what's fun versus science is the balance, I guess, today. So we definitely need to do like 65 into the rocketry stuff. I don't think we're necessarily going to need that. This would be nice. A lot more tanks, and the fuel ducts is super important for later launches especially. But that would be 65, 155. Well, there's 245. I'd really like to get some more science stuff too. Repair kits, we'll definitely need that for landings. Ladder. See that control station, that's going to be important for later when we get all the extra experiments. We don't have any solar stuff yet. Man, that's tough. It's a tough decision. EVA experiment kits. So that'll be when we do our first landing. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to balance between getting into orbit, which is definitely the 2 rocketries. We want to be nerdy and build plane stuff. We have garbage gear. We have those engines. This makes it so we can do some better wing situation. I think... Do we already have ailerons? Elevators and such? Man, I can't really build even a decent plane until we get up to here, and that's another 250 science. Alright, we're going to waste a little bit of time and go jump into the space plane hangar. Because I don't have a very clear, like, this is what I have to do next. You know, we need some more science. We need another... Yeah, I want to do plane stuff. that's the only goal I'm looking at the moment. So the Juno is 20 newtons, or kilonewtons rather. So 20 with that one. What's the next level of aerodynamic science get us? What kind of thrust does that bad boy have? I think it was in here, right? And that was the intake. Wasn't there an engine? There we go. Oh my goodness, it's 6 times as powerful. But it's also 90 science, and I really, really should get... Scanning we don't need quite yet. We don't need those, that's fine. We have the other ladder. That's much later, so okay, we're not worried about that tree quite yet. See, there's that station that has to control the experiments, but you have to get this to power it, and we don't even have any of those experiments yet. Yeah, like there's the first one down the line, so I'm not worried about that either. The EVA experiments kit would be nice. Yeah, I'm having but so would, you know, so would the reaction wheel for control. RCS thrusters are down the way there as well. I also kind of don't want to just blow a bunch of science on some arbitrary stuff. So I think what we'll do, since we did this already, let's get into orbit and see what kind of science machine we can make happen. We're also going to take a look at the little rover that we had, because if I remember right... Alright, same cost, so it should be the same little garbage ship. Okay, we did have everything in this. Yeah, I don't think we have any extra experiments, barometer, storage. Yeah, alright, so this had everything in it, and we had already kind of made our way through it. Because this was that little engine, right? The Juno. Yeah, that did okay. So, provided, you know, that the plane wouldn't have as much weight to it, that might be alright. So we'll take a look. I think we'll be fine though. Alright, so let's go. First we'll check contracts. Because we have none at the moment, right? Yeah. Yeah, these focused observations is really what I want to get a plane for. 16.7, 16.4, 19.3. That'll be the thing. We'll have to test the plane. So that'll take us a while to make sure we're looking at the ability to do that. And even this. You know, tour to see the sights. We'll check this stuff out. We'll test the plane first, see how far we can get it. Test it at the launch site. Activate the part. Yeah, I kind of want to take this But that's when it's going to be like, you know, test it at 10,000 feet, and I have got a rover to test it. So maybe not the best one. Alright, let's see. These are tough because, like, the swivel... It's a decent amount of money, though. We'll take a look at that. Okay, so the swivel and the thumper into a suborbital trajectory. Oh, 240, 250. We're not gonna... We wouldn't do suborbital at that height, so... I mean, that's good money there too, but... That's not something we're gonna do, though, so... I think I kind of blew our other contracts, because now the only thing we've got is orbit Kerbin. Test the decoupler on an escape trajectory out of Kerbin. I mean, we haven't even orbited yet, so we're definitely not going to do an escape. So for now, we're just going to take the orbit Kerbin contract. Okay. Yeah, we'll take that. We'll worry about the other testing of stuff, because those keep coming and going. And let's smack together a little rocket that's going to make its way into orbit. I don't think... Yeah, we don't have to save our... Yeah, I don't... This is the furthest craft that we put together. We were limited by our tanks, so yeah, we're not going to worry about this. Starting from scratch. It has been honestly quite difficult to contain myself and not keep playing this save. Seems like the music has been very unbalanced. Let me crank that down a little bit for you guys. Yeah, when I've had the little bit of time I do have this week, because it's been a busy week at work, when the little bit of time I have had to play games has come up, I've been very tempted to continue this playthrough, but that's not any fun. Not taking you guys along with for the ride. So I've been doing the missions instead, and just kind of like, you know, building some craft in there and completing the missions. Some of those are pretty long, so you end up building one rocket, and then that kind of takes you through the whole mission, and it takes quite a bit of time to get through it. Okay, the swivel. Oh, if we need... Yeah, I think we need to... Orbiter 1, because I'm so creative. First Kerbin. Not that that's going to be hard to recreate, but I think we need to get the control. Yeah, I'd really like to have the reaction wheel, so we're not sitting there fighting. I don't think... Not an admin. We want that. Never noticed the facial hair on Walt there. Yeah, that's right. Bob got some XP from the rover mission. Okay, so they do have stability assist when they start as pilots, and then the reaction wheels will be able to kind of help that out a little bit. Alright, let's... This is going to look really funky, I think, without having the one that is better sized. And I don't need it to come with the ship. Stop it. So that looks silly, but okay, at least that... Oh, that was like that. That should be fine. I don't think that will induce any... I think Kraken-induced failures are kind of, when they kind of stopped development. I think we're okay. Alright, 60 in vacuum, but it's much lighter, 3 times lighter. I don't know what kind of delta V that'll give us. Okay, 600. I actually, I'm gonna pop over the one, I'll call it a cheat. It's not really a cheat. The one reference, that's what we'll use to make ourselves feel better about it, that we'll use throughout the duration of this career is the Delta V map. Yeah, you only need 3,400. That seems crazy. Oh, no, we don't need a stationary orbit. So yeah, circular, low orbit of Kerbin's 3,400. So we don't need to get too crazy, but at the same time, I kind of want a good like orbital base for current technology, and each time we kind of step up where we go, we can always load up the next level. What tank was that? That was the 400. I think that's, yeah, that's the biggest boy we have right now. So let's slap our new engine on. Probably gonna need to go a little taller also because I've kind of forgotten the whole basis of this. We need to take the science with us. So in that regard, I think I'm gonna backpedal on what I said. And let's go ahead and put that on there. And even to the point where we'll put the shield on the bottom of all the science goods. So we'll have the Science Junior. I did like that setup on the rover, so we'll do that. Hopefully this isn't too crazy top heavy. It should be okay. Especially because I'm going to overload it with chutes just to be on the safe side. So we'll do the same drogue chute setup. Slap that either side. Let's crack these open. We'll turn this so I don't have to do that every time. I don't know why I can't get my geospatial brain around the rotation of these things. Now I'll only have Jeb for this mission, so having stuff to reset doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, that's only the one Kerbal pod, and yeah, we don't have the 2 yet, so I'm half tempted to do 2 Science Juniors, but I don't think I'm gonna. I think getting into orbit, you know, is kind of like the game considers it a significant feat as is, so we can slap some goo on there. Actually, we might as well put it in here. There's no reason to get crazy with it. We can bring 2, why not? Just make sure it doesn't clip so it looks nice. Alright, looking at some pressure. And some temp. Alright, so we'll only be able to collect 2, but I think we've already gotten what we can out of the suborbital, so it's really just going to be in orbit, and then maybe when we splash down, I don't know if we've actually taken the science when we splash down, but at least for a first run, this will do. Alright, so we have our reaction wheels, heat shield chutes. Cool. I love how the build vehicle assembly building gets very excited music wise. Doom doom doom. Alright, we're gonna grab, well, that's unnecessary. Acting like I'm building this big complex craft and I don't have the time to just slap the boosters back on there. So that was the swivel, right? Yeah, okay. So we can slap the Reliant on the outside. This is kind of overkill for just getting into orbit, but it'll be alright. I do need to take a peek and see how much further down the tree we need to get those fuel ducts. I think it was, okay, it was just one. I think that's pretty necessary. Do we get anything else to justify this? I guess if you were heavy, I was going to say, I can't think of, as I'm sitting here staring at this, I'm like, why would you want a drain valve? I guess if you were heavy and you wanted to kick some fuel out, that's one way to go about it. This tank is better. I'm pretty sure you save some weight too. So where we've got 2 of the 400 stacked up, I'm pretty sure it's more efficient to go 1 800. Not toll free. A single 800. Crap, that's expensive though. I'm super hesitant on it because I really, like I said, I really want to build some planes today. But I think we'll be able to acquire enough science that we'll be able to grab this right now and then come back and grab this after the fact. I mean, we can also do some orbits around Minimus and the moon to science up with a similar craft. We don't really need something that's too much crazier powerful than this, but alright, we'll commit it. We got 45 left, so at least we can grab, well, literally only a thing we didn't even care about. Struts, though, might be a thing. So at least we've got that as a backup. If the ship we make is a wiggly piece of crap, we'll be able to strut it up and redeem ourselves. Okay. I don't think we even have nose cones, do we? We do have nose cones, cool. Alright, let's take a look. Was that worth it for the 400s and 800s? 400s are 2 1/4 with 180 liquid. There's the 800. It's funny because the picture is tinier, so it's like, what's going on here? Angry Orange Engineer report. Yeah, we don't worry about that guy. Right before we hit launch and, you know, we spend all our time having built this thing. Let's see. Can we take a look and assume what that's going to be? Oh, the launch pad can't handle it. Yeah, okay. Well, it's a good thing we did take a look at that. Not that we can't finish this first, but what's super funny is your keen eye noticed that immediately. I didn't even pay attention to it. I was like, build more rockets. Okay, so 4.5 tons. Yeah, so I lied. They're exactly the same. It's just less pieces if you're stacking a bunch of stuff up, but I'm not too worried about it. Let's throw one more. I think it's showing much less delta V because of that, and we haven't done this yet, so 2512. According to our map, we still don't have enough, but I think we would. This seems really excessive just to get into orbit. But, like I said, just playing the missions is not really enough for me to determine yay or nay. I do kind of want to just launch it though. We need to go fix the pad situation. Too many parts also, so that means we'd have to upgrade rather, the vehicle assembly building and the pad. I think one of those is probably going to be substantially cheaper than the other. Okay, so 50K for that, and that obviously covers us very well, and then more parts. Yeah, we don't have the availability to do that, so I think we're carrying too much science. But this can't weigh all that much. I don't know if you can get a look on weight, like by part. I think there's... There we go, that's how you do it. 1.76. I don't think this is that substantial. No, it's not at all. Well, we can do the pad relatively easy. The parts, however, is far more expensive. I don't think we even need to I think we can lose this and kind of just stage down to the very bottom. This is very messy at that point. Yeah, there's the delta V we need. We're reducing our parts then. We just crank these bad boys until we're suborbital and then circularize, and then we can kind of re-enter with that, crack our science off, and then that'll be alright. It's not the prettiest, probably as far from the most efficient as you can get. I think for our parts, we're going to have to sacrifice some of the more arbitrary experiments, I'll call them. Let's do some side-by-sides here. The chutes are probably overkill too, but I really don't want to risk that. That's our only revert rule that we have, is if a Kerbal is going to die, then we can revert. Otherwise, we're sending it. I could ditch the reaction wheel. We're not really going to be doing that much in the way of turning, so we'll risk that as well to get down to our part limit. Okay, we still do need to update. Update keeps coming to mind, like it's a software. Upgrade the launch pad so we can handle the weight. Kind of forgot about those limitations. Okay, that has us decent for money though. 18 was what we were creeping on. We were at 20. So 140 is going to keep us quite in line with our current builds anyway, for some time. So one more double check. We'll take a look at staging, which is now much more simple. This is all for re-entry. Okay, we just have the two, kick those out, drop of the stack, hit the drogues, hit the chute, and then we'll pin our experiments. I think we're ready to go. 16.8, it's not crazy good because we're not very wealthy, and we probably should start spending our reputation to gain money, but never mind all that. It's time to go. Never mind doing what's sensible and will help us progress. Launch more rockets. Maybe. Okay, so yeah, we're already getting the wobbles a little bit. They're leaning out, so we'll just keep an eye on that. This is for an active world's first. Yes, it is. Yeah, this is one of the contracts that we've got. Orbit, but also in the process, kind of the main goal. This is a means to an end, if you will. The main goal is to get a plane in the air today to do some of those focused observations. We have SAS. We have throttle. Let's go. Okay, she has way more thrust than this little craft needs, but that's okay. See how Jeb handles her. I thought as soon as it hit the pad, it was much more wobbly than it is, but it's not too bad. It's hanging in. Having to ditch those parts is kind of a bummer though, because the thrust to weight is definitely capable of taking some goods up. Keep an eye on our apoapsis. Yeah, this thing is quite powerful. For what it has anyway. Payload is like some experiments. Easy, easy. Come on, Jeb. You're better than this. She was getting ready to go. I don't know if the keyboard stomping was, was evident there, but all of a sudden she was getting a little flippy. Alright, we'll throttle up a little bit since we're getting substantially higher up. Those have expired. Yeah, looking good. Plenty of delta V left. We can actually throw all this up and expedite this a little bit. Go peek on how this is looking. Oh geez, my tracking station doesn't have the ability to scope that stuff out yet. It's a little bit of a bummer. That's okay, we can keep an eye on apoapsis. We'll just kind of eyeball this. It's been so long since I've played this game, you know, regardless of mode. I forgot about things about upgrading and the stuff that matters. Alright, so let's pin this down. We'll keep these open. I think we've already got a goo up here. Yeah, we'll not waste that yet, but make a mess of our screen and get these all ready to go. I think as soon as we get into orbit is when we'll do, and we'll save the goo for potential splashdown or wherever we end up landing. All right, so 103. I think you can upgrade the tracking station as you go too. I kind of don't want to risk that, but at the same time, I kind of want to go look and see if we can do that real quick. Let's do it. Let's do it. Off the map screen, Space Center. I'm pretty sure tracking station is where you can do maneuver nodes and view the goodies. Patch conics available. 150K though. Fly to ship. I remember it being like a little bit, not a struggle, that's not the right word, but it was a little bit of a, like, you had to focus a little on making money, but I feel like it's more difficult than I remember, and I'm not putting enough stake into that also. Because we would warp to the apoapsis, the tippy top, and then circularize, but we'll just hang out for a minute. We are in space though, so, oh crap, going to the tracking station blew all my, well, we're still suborbital though, I don't think, yeah, in space near, so. Flight painting this combo of level 2 mission control and level 2 tracking station. See, I knew the tracking station was part of it, but as soon as it's conical, that's only like, will show you like your encounters and your escapes, right? When you're coming up on other bodies. So mission control makes more sense for seeing apoapsis, periapsis, and being able to do maneuver nodes and stuff like that. I appreciate you. But I'm broke. Hardly necessary for mere Kerbin orbits, more important for moon missions. Yeah, except if you're like, several, I don't even know how many years removed from playing, and then I'm like, okay, which which one of these? I'm doing okay in the missions. I'm doing all right. We just did, had to go to Minimus with a rover that has the mining equipment on it, and then all of a sudden you've got to, I guess I won't spoil it for anybody that's gonna play it, but you have to be prepared for extra stuff on the ship, I'll say, that you weren't planning for. And, you know, after a couple shots back up there, my design was kind of garbage, but as expected. All right, I think that's going to be close enough. We'll circularize the best we can see this bad boy, and at least this will give us an indication that it's at least 70. Keep an eye on the Delta V, of course. That's good enough. We don't need to get crazy. We're just going circular. Okay, we have our orbit Kerbin contract. And then the old world's first. Delete them all. We don't need them. All right, cool. Let's run some science experiments. Okay, I guess that doesn't matter. Orbital versus suborbital gives you the same data, so that's kind of a bummer, but at least we got the monies. Might be worth checking when the world's first return from orbit contract pop-up mission control. I played for years that no such contract even exists. I didn't know that was a thing either, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you don't take it, the contract, but you do it, you can't get it. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I feel like that was a thing. So you'd be blowing past world first milestones and not even see that you could have been accepting contracts for it. So we have Explore Kerbin, which is the standard stuff. So yeah, that one did not pop. What is this one though? Spacewalk. Well, we can do that. You can push Apo above 250. That's space high above. That's where the fresh points are. Yeah, thanks, Haven. I think we're gonna have to do that with a different craft. I think this bad boy is not gonna have enough Delta V to do that and then return. Maybe I'll take a look though. We'll see. What's up, buddy? How's the stream so far? What's up, Al? Yeah, it's going good, man. Just starting out day 2 and stumbling my way through as expected. Yeah, we'll take this because all we need to do is get out, is my understanding of that contract. I did want to see more contracts. Yeah, okay. Tracking station upgrade required for flight planning. That's pretty cheap. We're going to just go ahead and smack that in there. This one was a little heftier, right? Yeah, 150. Not terrible, but you see that money's deplete. That's scary stuff right there. Right, it's not a world's first thing the second time you do it. Yeah, yeah. Just don't, if you don't tell anybody, it remains a world's first thing. Okay, well, why did we do that? What's happening? What are we doing? Yeah, we still need to upgrade the tracking station to be able to do that stuff. Astronaut Complex for EVA, if you don't have it yet. I'm pretty sure we got it last time to be able to... Yeah. I think I ended up getting it because I thought I needed it for the rover. But obviously we didn't, but now we need it now. So it worked out. Okay, so there's some more cash just for hopping out on something we're already in the midst of. Thanks for that, for checking mission control, because if I hadn't checked in that, we wouldn't have gotten this. And then world's first as well. All the monies. Give me all the cash. You have cash, give me cash. Alright. What we can do, an EVA report, and at least get that, because I know that won't be a thing. Get your butt back in there. I'm pretty sure we've already crew reported up here. We have. What are we looking at for the old tippy tops? 117, which is obviously the side we're on. What kind of push can we get? Let's crank it up just a little bit to see how much V we need, because we can always... I kind of want to do it from this side, though, just in case. It's not a big deal. If we need to... well, I don't have the means to rescue him. I was going to say, if he gets stuck up here, whatever, we'll come get him. Not really. We don't have any of the necessary goods to come up for a rescue. What, Oh, that's a little bit of a giveaway, isn't it? It shows your radio connection with some launch pads that you have not discovered yet. Alright, task at hand. I think I've already blown it. Cancel that. Go away for a second. Let's get this. Okay, we're heading towards Berry Apps, so it should be... I think it's here-ish. Kind of just over Desert Launch. We'll head there. I'm just going to put on a little bit of juice and see how much we can influence our apoapsis without upgrading the tracking station. Kind of doing this, doing it live, if you will. Let's see if we can hit that 250. Because if we can peek out there and grab all these experiments up, I think that'll net us a good amount without having to come back and, like, you know, make a ship that has more delta V. I think my ascent was relatively efficient, so I think it just surprised me how much it actually takes you to get into a Kerbin orbit. Alright, that's gonna be good. Let's actually look at us so we can tell without just wildly guessing. That's retrograde. Prograde ourselves up. Come on. You can do it upside down. I know navball right side up doesn't matter, guys, but as a pilot, I can't look I can't look at brown up top and just be okay with that. I get it, we're in space, it doesn't matter, but I gotta make the change. Bear with me. If you look at that and you go, oh, why does he do that? It doesn't matter. That's why. You can still yell. I'm still going to do it. All right, we're going to check apoapsis just to see. I think we can do a 250. Yeah, for sure. And then we'll just, you know, crack it back down on the other side. Solid. Haven, good on you. I appreciate you. No spoilers now. I didn't put, I don't have anything in the chat rules about, I don't like backseat gaming. Oh, I totally understand needing a sane orientation. Yeah, I don't understand it. You'll see a video and they're doing like, they're getting ready to go like to the moon. And dude's looking like this. And like it's not a maneuver node, it's not anywhere near retrograde, and he's like, "Okay, we're going to make a landing." I'm like, I don't think you are. Of course, for me, sane means blue side up on the way up, blue side down on the way down. I see, for me, I can't. It's blue side up all the time. And since I don't change the orientation of the the ship, like when I have a rover, that always guarantees wheels down. So I don't know. To each their own, as they say. All right, yeah, we'll that'll work out pretty well actually. We'll kick over to the 250 side. We'll run our science, and then we'll have plenty enough delta V left to face retro, blast it up, and then land relatively close, ish. That's one thing I need to fine tune as well for when we get to. This is weeks and weeks ahead of us, but when we get to spaceplane stage, I want to be pretty decent at popping us into, a decent approach for the Space Center. But we'll see what's up. All right. What I have learned is let's go check to see if we can. I really doubt we're going to have any other contracts. Maybe we can do the 250 if that's there, but we'll see what's up. Because I think at least money-wise, recovering from this mission is going to have us set up pretty well. Okay, that's still... Okay, just return from orbit. I'm hesitant to do the 250, but we're going to do it. We're already here. We've already burned for it, planned for it. Let's make it happen. I do want to see... we're getting the cash as we go along. So 150 is really not that big of a deal right now. Let's do it. We're going to need it eventually. Let's just do it. That's science limit. That's parts, contracts, also parts, which we're nowhere near that yet, obviously. We haven't killed anybody or lost anybody, so we'll worry about that later. And then strategies, honestly, on my... Oops. Resume. On the last playthrough I had done, however many years ago that was, I didn't really mess with the admin building, and I feel like I probably should more. We'll see. Probably not. I think the funniest thing about this little start mission here is, this couldn't be... Yeah, there we go. There's some nodes. That'll be easier to see, and then we can do some planning and such. This is such an insignificant mission. Like, just get into orbit. That's not that big of a deal. And for me, I'm like, oh man, am I gonna make it? Yes, we'll make it. Yeah, that's the center over here. So we'll move that bad boy. That's really strange. Let's take that out. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it's not going to impact the periaps as much and not be on that side. Anyway, that's not super important. I don't really care if we land super close to the center or not. But let's not waste a bunch of time looking at nothing. Let's get over there. And we only have 276, so I'm not going to... We don't have a lot of time to do all the experiments. I don't know if this is still a thing either. Can you still kind of trick it to take and then store to do these over again? I'm not above 250 yet. I just realized that. Come on. I'm like, oh, I don't want to rush it. And now I'm like, hurry up. All right, EVA in there. Yeah, okay, you can still do that. Something about it takes it out of like the high over Kerbin. Takes it out of like the active slot and puts it in the storage slot or something like that. Something along those lines that old Scott Manley was blabbing about. Yeah, game still has a quirk where you gotta take the capsule out so you can run the crew report again. Yeah, that's why I love having the old scientists with and just collect it all and store it, but that is obviously not an option. Log some temp. Look at some materials. Okay, pretty significant signs. Not as crazy as I kind of hoped. We're going to pin the goo just so I don't forget that wherever it is that we end up. And that's that. We'll wait a little bit. Well, actually, now that we can node, we might as well take advantage of the tools we have. That's fine. That'll do it for us. I know there's going to be a trick to like, oh, if you do, you know, a periapsis of this height, 90 degrees prior to the space center, you know, you're going to hit blah, blah every time. I can only imagine that's a thing, but I'd rather trial and error it a little bit, especially because then I can kind of, rather than tailor the planes to what I usually plan on doing, I can kind of tailor the maneuvers to it if I know what I'm doing. Someday that'll happen. Now, can you warp to it? You can. Okay, cool. Let me just, that's pretty much all we had. We EVA'd twice. We got the crew reports twice. Yeah, let's go. We'll do our burn. Then we'll kick all the goods off and get back home with way more Delta V than I needed. I actually don't remember how much it had to begin with, so I probably should have that number in mind before I'm talking smack about the Delta V map. Close enough. We're not looking for precision here. I actually don't even care what the node says. We'll do it at like 30. Actually, I think 40 is more than enough. And if we need, we can always just keep it retrograde, which we can save potential heartache later and just put us in that position now. I kind of want to see, did we take the reaction wheel off? We had to, didn't we? Yeah, okay. I was going to say, I was curious to see how much of a pain it would be if we had this craft without reaction wheels, but we do have this craft without reaction wheels. And it's not too shabby. All right. Get out of the way for a second. About here-ish. Let's just get on getting on. Head back to the surface. There we go. We don't need to like watch the whole re-entry, but at the same time, keep our eyes a little bit. I'm sure there's something. I just saw the other day, I was watching a Matt Lown video, and he's like, you know, using exploits and, oh, this isn't a Kraken engine, and this is a, you know, the Cal controller, and like, sure, the Kraken thing, I don't remember it being called the Kraken, just that, you know, stuff would explode and glitch, but I guess I wasn't like tuned into, you know, like a Reddit or anything like that in the community at the time, but I certainly didn't know anything about like Kraken engines and doing exploits for stuff like that. But when he's like, oh, you know, you use a Cal controller when you fire this engine and it'll do this and do that. And I'm like, that definitely wasn't, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. But anyway, my point was, I'm sure I could figure out some way to do some like programmable logic nonsense to write the nav ball without me incessantly doing it every single time I change orientation. I don't think I'm going to need to actually burn at all. That apoapsis is kind of high, so maybe, but we'll see. Cal comes from one of the DLC. If you're pure stock, you ain't got it. I've got Making History and Breaking Ground, I think. I think at one point they were just like, you know, you've had the game, here, take it. But I might be making that up. But it seems like in the loading screen, it shows you what version of both are taking place, or, you know, are loaded in. Yeah, that's what I thought. We're just going to be in the 3 bands, and we've already got, I'm pretty sure we've got goo, all the current experiments in all the 4 sections. We'll check the science center. What are we gaining heat on? I don't really care. I'm going to probably just burn and then ditch this engine regardless. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if we can curve away enough. The sound effect is necessary. Is it the heat shield? That's kind of interesting. I did take it down for weight a little bit, but I hope that's not the Science Junior heating up. That would be a bummer. I don't know why too, I always would eject the heat shield. Even when it's like a tiny little craft like this, that's probably not necessary, and I've got 2 drogues and a full chute, so it seems like that's way overkill to be like, oh no, we need to get rid of this tiny little heat shield or we're gonna crash down. Okay, I don't know what that helped reduce heat on, but I feel like that's the heat shield. Whatever we can do to cool her down a little bit without spinning out like crazy. I gotta have to go like, there we go. Let's just do some deflection, heat deflection maneuvers, if you will. Yeah, I don't want to get too crazy because it's, don't blow up. Oh, we definitely don't want to go. Okay, okay. There goes the Science Junior. We'll see if we can survive this. Maybe slightly too aggressive on the re-entry. I can't even, no, put the cargo on the bottom. It like won't, it resists it so bad. The Science Junior at least was 30 something science, and we can recreate that. This is just like, it wants to like dart, right? It wants to lawn dart, but I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't lose the parachute. I don't know if I can like get that out of the way enough. I really thought at 20,000 here that we would start to slow. I mean, we are obviously, but maybe a little bit more substantially. There we go. We're not going to burn up anymore. It's just coming sideways like a comet. All right, where even are we? Out in the desert. All right, the Science Junior is a bummer. There's no denying that, but we're not dead, and that's always a plus. Yeah, we are just shaped for this. We are just bullet shaped, so that's what it wants to do. I really wish I could kind of keep it dragging into the stream there, because we can't even pop the drogues yet. I think 500 we'll be able to. I really hope that's the number. Oh, thank God. Woo! You're safe, Jeb. You're safe. I like all the visual mods I've been seeing, especially when I look at my landscape and it's like, ugh, what is this? And every once in a while you'll see like, you know, the one little rock or whatever it is that's out there. But also I feel like it's almost a bit too much. Like I'll see videos of people posting like they're testing their aircraft and stuff like that, and they're just like flying through trees. There was a dude who'd posted his plane the other day. Maybe it was yesterday even. You're like, what is that? What is this purple glowing object? And if they're just there visually, like sure it looks cooler, but I don't know. I've not decided yet on this playthrough if we'll do any mods or not. Not that we're not going to do any, but I don't know what flavors and to what degree we'll throw some on there. Probably make that determination after I get sick of talking about how the landscape looks super gross. Okay. Since we have this mountain kind of creep, there's our shadow. I was about to say I haven't seen I don't even know what the what the velocity was there, but at least we made it. I like the slightly cartoony aesthetic of the base game. You know, I do too. That's I don't want it like hyper realistic. I also don't want it looking potato. So now, granted, if like my computer is probably gonna blow up if there's anything more than that. All right, let's try and spam this out again. Take in store. But then I have no choice. I play this on PS4. I don't know how I would like it on PS4. I don't know how a controller, you know, you're obviously going to be able to tell me, but I don't know how a controller would really translate to some of the stuff. Like, I mean, even just that, as I'm talking about it, thinking about it, just the zoom controls and camera, and I don't know, obviously there's sticks and such that make that possible, but I don't think I have Surface Sample yet. No, I don't. I think that'd be low enough to grab it. I think that's another Astronaut Complex one, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, this could have been better. It could be worse. We've got our stuff back. I think 34, like I said. I think the Science Junior, I think it was like 34 science. So watch what's going to happen is we would be like just out of reach of plane stuff. Okay, 89 science, so that's good. Camera pan and zoom is good. Flight control is obviously good. Yeah, they couldn't make a game and throw it on console if they weren't taking care of the flight aspect of it for sure. Needing to push a button in a dialog box, not always good. Yeah, you know how it is though. A PC game ports over to console level 1, and you know there's going to be some shortcomings for sure, but performance is obviously never going to be an issue, or I don't want to say never, but less likely to be an issue. I do notice my computer's not the greatest, but there are some times when it does kind of hiccup a little bit, which is funny with the level of graphics we're talking. Anyway, okay, world first, return from orbit. Here we are. Now, we spent the cash I really care about for the time being anyway. I don't think we need the runway at this point. What were we just talking about? EVAs. I haven't placed a flag yet. I did make us a custom flag, so we'll see how that bad boy looks. It's very rudimentary, but it'll do for now. All right, let's go take a look at some of this. You know what? I don't care. We have enough money. We just got enough science to do plane stuff. Let's do plane stuff. Is this the best use of our science? Probably not, but... Ooh, and actually, now that I say that, I'm kind of questioning my decisions. The thing is, when are we even going to get the next bit of science? I think... You know, we've got the stationary. Well, let me cheat again and peep on our Delta V map, which I don't know why I closed it. That seems awfully silly. And then we'll go peek on that craft. I think with just a little bit of modification, yeah, we can do a minimus orbit. Call it 4,500. And we can do a moon with about the same 1170, 45, a little bit more. But a 4,500 Delta V craft will get us in orbit of stuff. So if we get desperate for science, we can slap the same experiments we just had on and then head to one of the mini moons. All right. That's what we're going to do. We're committing. I'm still hesitant to push the button though. I'm like, I gotta do it. I gotta do it. That's fine. Let's see what we can make. Now the thing is, I need, or I would like rather, yeah, there's Explore the Moon is next. Simply head to the moon, pass by it. We don't even need to do anything. So that's easy money if we need it, and obviously we're gonna get a ton of science from doing that mission, so that's not bad. That craft as it was for enough for a moon flyby, but not for moon orbit. But if you're following contracts, moon flyby is probably gonna pop up next. Ta-da! Yeah, you called it. Yeah, I wouldn't take that one even to do an orbit, just because like we had some like 1,000 meters per second left in it before we kind of did our garbage re-entry. but I don't know if I would trust that to do that. Maybe a flyby. A flyby would make sense, and then just, you know, kind of burn it apoapsis for Kerbin. Anyway, let's re-cage here. So, for those that didn't join us last week, this was our delicious rover that gathered all of our KSC biome sciences. Had our nice little service bay, chock to the brim, if you will, of goodies. So I kind of want to do two flavors. First, I want, because it's been a long time since I've done this, right? So bear with. But I want to have the kind of the first plane that's just going to kind of used for the observational stuff. It's this one. To be able to kind of get to different locations and then fulfill contracts for that. And then I also would like to do another one that will do the we'll be able to carry the science goods. So we'll see how I do on designing these bad boys. Some wingadings, because I'm hesitant, honestly, to do like some crazy custom wing design and stuff like that until I get a good feel for what I'm even capable of, if you will, if that makes sense to you. If the old skills are still with us. Now that's gonna tail strike is the problem. I need the better gear, but I'm pretty sure I know it's not a 172, if you're familiar with what that is. We're going to even T-tail it to start, but, you know, it'll be all right. We'll get over it. That's a little meaty, but we'll probably use it. Yeah, okay, I was going to say our control surfaces in here, not... The problem I'm also going to have that people are much better than me at is they're going to be better at playing the game, and I'm going to be thinking about actual plane stuff. So, you know, it's very realistic that my plane won't fly nearly as well as somebody that's just doing Kerbal planes and not trying to like make a legit plane, if that makes sense. But we'll see. We'll see what magic I come up with. And we don't really have... That's way too big. That's way too big. Yeah, I don't think we're going to have an actual tail that I can kind of mess with. That makes sense anyway. This is going to look super, super goofy. I need a better piece. Is what I need. That's way too big. So the problem with this is it's obviously, you know, the wing is intended for there. I don't know what this is going to do. Like I said, bear with me while I play around a little bit. It's also going to look ridiculous. Oh, it won't even let me attach to it. I was going to try to T-tail it. You want yaw control on the rudder. So my plan was that wasn't going to be the rudder. That was going to be the vertical stab. So I guess I could do something goofy like that. I was going for a T-tail, but I don't have the current parts to actually make that work. So that won't happen. Because the other thing I don't like in the kind of... I don't like this elevon. You know, those are two different things, right? In like, again, the real world. But obviously it's a video game, so I have to deal with that. But I hate seeing clips and videos where planes are using the same control surface for two things like that. Unless you're doing like a V-tail, which isn't the greatest either. But so yeah, that's the only thing I would want at this case is that. But these then need to play like triple duty essentially. That should do over here too, right? Or double duty at least. Alright, like I said, bear with me as I make silly things happen. Because this is too big for this plane too. I don't really need like huge underslung engines. What did I do on the rover? Yeah, I just had him on the outside. That's not going to be enough to carry this bad boy. So we're going to have to do something silly. I don't really want, because I don't even have an engine that goes on that, do I? Oh, okay, I do. Yeah, this was the tiny one. This is too much for this little plane, but like I said, let me fiddle. I know. I'll learn and you can giggle. We'll do it that way. Because obviously these bad boys would be underslung, but like this plane is ridiculously undersized for that to be the case. And it's going to look like crap, right? Like, I understand. I'm fully aware of what is happening here. I'm going to go smidge symmetry before you go too much further. No need. I noticed. Did I get... Yes, okay. I was about to say, did I get the large circular intake? Yeah. You noticed it just as I was typing it. I certainly did. I was like, well... That would be unfortunate. Like this type of stuff, like the visual clipping of it and whatnot, it drives me nuts. But for the time being, we're gonna deal. Or at least I am. Hopefully you can too. Now, for angle of attack's sake, I don't think I can get this one much further down. Yeah, that's not... I don't want to squat it too much either, so let's shift those back. It's a tail strike waiting to happen, but it's alright. This doesn't do... Oh, it does do center lift. Okay. I don't want it that far back. Technically, that's for gear's sake, but... Yeah, that's... Well, if we line those up, that's a better way to look at it. I think that's going to be too nose low. So this is probably going to drag the tail on the ground a little bit. But we'll see what it does. Jeb, you ready, bud? Good luck. I can only imagine... Oop, build, back to build. Yeah, I hate how those are kind of single use. You know what I'm going to do? Again, it's going to look very stupid. Well, since it's easier to grab these on the outside, we're going to turn these into pitch as I do things twice. Throw those on the inside. That's a little bit more realistic for our elevator. And then I can never get the placement of stuff right. I always have to hit, you know, 3 lefts and then 4 rights before I get it in the right position. I did not mean to do that. And then you're just going to be roll. Alright, double check our surfaces. We have pitch. We have yaw, which isn't going to be much, especially with these kind of larger control surfaces. I probably will come back and pitch the wings up just a touch. But let's see what we have first. What we have is ridiculous. But it's our ridiculous. You guys are like, I want no credit in this aircraft whatsoever. I understand. Alright, let's see what's up. Sorry, Jeb. I'm gonna keep trying to pitch up just to kind of see what VR looks like. Yeah, that's what I thought. We're gonna have to like fly off the end of the runway. It walks its way down. See, that's the strategy. We want it to just walk off the end of that bad boy. Well done, Jeb. It's your fault. All right, at least I can get a look while it's sitting on flat ground, though. What kind of... Yeah, we can... Obviously, canards would be the easiest solution, but for this little thing... I think the thrust is there. We can take some weight out of the front tank first, and then we'll try to pitch up after that. Yeah, I'm not too sure what I want to do. We used to claim that level 1 runway was an IQ test. I don't want to know my results. You shush. So since it's so much bumpier than the grassland next to it, you failed if you try to use it. It's a runway, man. I can't. I can't. You know, when we start doing landy stuff, I'll start plopping it on places that are not places that I would land. Well, that's not true either. I've landed in some silly places. But yeah, if there's a runway, I gotta use it. See, realistically, you know, the engines are throwing this off. But this is the kind of center of weight to center of thrust, or center of gravity to center of thrust, rather, that you'd want. Center of lift. Let's try this several times before we get it right. But there's no way I'm not smacking that tail right on the ground. I guess I could pop this bad boy. Let's turn those off. Those are annoying to look at. That's going to be obnoxious too. Obviously this gear isn't really designed for this anyway. Oh, I don't like that. But we're going to see what happens. Now I should have put that fuel back in that tank though, since I've moved the engines up. It's going to be very tail heavy. Yeah, that's not very significant, but let's see what we got. I think the other issue is my refusal to do elevons. I mean, that's pretty much what this boils down to. So I'm going to have to get over myself. Just do the silliness. The design's crap, right, guys? So, like, it's not like I'm, you know, oh, this is so good, it should work. But I'm just fiddling. I'm tempted to kind of load up my old save and see what kind of nonsense I came up with, because I wasn't terrible at it. Yeah, it's just going to be too front heavy, and we're not getting any lift on the wings. So, I wonder if I can just roll it over. In an alternate universe, Jeb has died far too many times. Yeah, I kind of want to go look at the other save, but that's not really the point of doing this. So I'm going to torture you more by continuing to see what we can do here. Skitter likely means the gears and straightest attached to the cells, which are curvy. So yeah, you're probably not wrong. But I'd like to see her get off the ground regardless. Oh, we need to snap this back in. Regardless of what looks good and what doesn't, and what's, you know, kind of best fit and what isn't. Less than a degree off could be a real problem. Which is funny because, like, again, bear with me. You know I'm going to make silly comments. In the real world, it doesn't matter, you know. I mean, obviously it does. It's not like it doesn't matter, but not as exaggerated as the old gamey game has us do. See, swept wing on this little thing shouldn't even really work for us. But all right, we're gonna go tiny engines. We're gonna do what we had before, which is counterintuitive to reduce thrust when we're in the situation that we're in. And if we do, I think I'm gonna do what I said I didn't want to do and go underslung. I don't know, obviously, a lot about how the aerodynamic model works in the game, but this should help with pitching up, like inherently, just from positioning sake. Well, that's the big boy. I want the little tiny guy. So I understand, especially Haven, since you're obviously familiar with the game, and you know, building ships and whatnot, you're gonna be pulling your hair out for a little bit. But like I said, bear with. Yeah, because I hate the idea of having, like, this is more nonsensical to me than anything. You know, having gear on the fuselage, like directly on the fuselage, is just, that's nonsense, I tell you. I don't know. I mean, this is just going to add more weight to it. I also don't know if it's going to have enough of an intake to it. Well, it's a question of which kind of wrong you're more willing to swallow. I'm more willing to swallow a wrong in the game currently, as I play and feel out the differences between real life and the video game. I know that's probably not the most fun for you, unfortunately, but watching my stuff blow up time after time will be very silly. Often attach the gear to the straight tanks, then gizmo them out to make them look attached to something more reasonable. Yeah, I'd be curious to know what you mean, because like what I'd like to just jump to, right, is to build, well, an aircraft that holds approximately 180 people, and, you know, is designed like aircraft are designed nowadays. But I'm limited by several things: the parts I have unlocked, my knowledge of the game, and how much I'm willing to fiddle around with things. So, once again, I apologize. Bear with. Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. Oh, the offset gizmo, the move tool. I thought that's what you meant. But it did take me a second to puzzle that out for myself. Yeah, I wish there were, you know what? No, we're still gonna try it. I need to go simpler is my issue right now, since I can't even do that. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I'll fail a couple times, and then drive one of us, potentially both of us, crazy, and then we'll make this happen. We're gonna name every garbage plane Cessna 172 until I start gathering something. Now, swept wing, right, is for maneuverability's sake, but in this game it doesn't really matter. That's never gonna fly. I need a hotkey for revert to hangar. Yeah, because if I could get this, like, you know, here-ish without it looking ridiculous. Does that even do, like, will that even let you do it, or is it counted as, like, not attached? Okay. It's silly. It's ridiculous. But that might get off the ground. I haven't enabled stability either. That's not going to save us from the wobbles and the garbage design, but oh, I also need to see if this is going to have sufficient intake. No, it doesn't. I didn't think so, but now it's just causing weight back there. As far as I know, swept wing is purely aesthetic in the game, plus the pan attached to a curvy surface. Yeah, like I said, you're going to know much more than I would. Okay, I think what we're going to do before we just repeat history here. Styrofoam looking wing pieces work better despite how awful they look. I might have to give it a shot. I don't know if I'm actually going to make it into the grass over here without smacking stuff into the ground. Let's give it a try. Okay. And I think, yeah, we're relatively out of runway. Let's flip her on around. Oop. Without actually flipping it on around. Towards the squad monolith over there. And let's give it a shot. I can only fail your IQ test so many times. Yeah, if I throw another intake on, I'll be able to use that one. We're also going uphill here, but yeah, as soon as I try to get off the ground, yeah, as soon as I apply pitch to it, she starts to freak out quite a bit. I wonder if I turn the SAS off, if that's kind of hurting us more than helping us. Nope, it wasn't. It was doing a good job. Alright, let's go back here so we don't have a dead Jeb. Let's come out here. Let's just upgrade the runway, because at least it'll take that out of question. 75k, that's half our cash, but we're here playing, so let's play appropriately. How are we doing? This is where I'm going to let time escape me. Just like continuously fiddling around. Alright, you're too heavy, so you have to go. Let's go a little bit more reasonable size also here. Out of the corner of my eye, since there's a delay and I'm watching what you guys are watching, I just saw the glorious fireball that took place there. Alright, then we won't have to go quite so crazy here. We can drop these after we click 5 different things, just for stability's sake. And actually, in that case, I kind of do need that to come down a touch more. No, I'm thinking about that backwards. Let's see if maybe we can crack these down just a touch more then. Okay, I keep looking at it and then going, wait a second, you're doing exactly the opposite of what you're intending to do right now. Good job, dummy. Yeah, because I don't even have any of the cool, like the little cone bits that you can kind of taper off, like I guess the tail pieces is the best way I would describe it. Let's crack these back a little further as well. That'll do. Alright, let's grab. How big is E? Let's get some snapping. It's big and ridiculous, but we gotta crawl before we can, you know, do anything else. You should have 2 tail cones mixed in with the wings. Nose, very small nose. Yeah, I don't, it might be the next batch. Oh, radial air intake. I could have gotten that, we should have thrown that on top for that engine on the back. Maybe that's what we'll do. You see them. I see tiny nose cone, small nose cone, another nose cone, the intakes, and then another nose cone. What am I missing? Wings. Oh, these things. Tail connector. So what's really funny is I was like, there's no way that's what those are. Oh, those are ridiculous. Not for this little size thing anyway. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I build like my actual plane. That's what I'll throw on there. That's a little too, that's a little excessive though. Thank you. I probably would not have, I'd been like, I'm like, no, there's these and these. There's nothing in between. One day, I'll get these button pushes complete. Figured out. Try that again, huh? Do very simple. Wrong way. Twice. 3 times. It's going to get to a point where it's like, just give up. You're no good at this. You're not going to be able to build one. That looks very backwards to me. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I was like, that's not right. I don't know if it's going to let me do that to the extent I want it to. Okay, it will. Don't you believe it? I'm playing this off and on since console release. I still can't get the rotation right the first time, or 2, or 3, or 4. Well, I guess I'm going to have a contest with you, because I just will not commit to getting the rotation right. I'm thinking we're going to change the cockpit up too, which I know is going to... I think there's an easier way to do that where you can like... where you can use the reroute tool rather than trashing the whole thing, but I suppose this is just as easy. Nope. You did the same thing that you didn't mean to do. Inline. Do the intake there. We'll do the little guy for now. It helps if you go to engines if you're looking for an engine. That's probably a really bad idea. I don't think this is going to be enough thrust to get it off the ground, but like I said, we're already starting to do more than our capabilities allow. Alright, at least the coney bit will kind of help a little bit. We didn't turn... I'm going to leave these on, except for the stuff that makes no sense. Man, the Cessna Corporation, or Textron at this point, has gone through so many iterations of this plane. You can call it whatever you want at this point. Look at that beautiful runway, huh? Now what I don't understand is why they didn't actually put numbers on it. Maybe they do when you upgrade it again? I don't remember. But anyway. How's her angle of attack look? Decent. I like how she's already rolling. Jeb's ready to go, so let's do this. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of, is that this thing is going to be sluggish to get moving. Again, I probably should have taken some fuel out of the tanks as we just play with silly wing designs and such. How's control? Okay, she rolls pretty good. I'm about to put some canards on, but I really don't want to. Should get a little more speed before we try again. We'll try 100 meters. Is something... that star was like at the worst position. It looked like something was on the runway. Holy crap, we have flight. We didn't even put SAS on. I think 09 is fully upgraded, which I assume is right for 090 heading. It is, yep. Yeah, runways are labeled based on magnetic, so that's why they'll change on occasion. The plane planes. It kind of planes. I mean, it's fine. I can't complain, right? Haha. Because it's better than the first how many iterations? Now let's not get too crazy. how aggressive can I be with it too? I should be able to be pretty well. I didn't check any aerodynamic qualities with it or anything, but you know, obviously you can't rip any of these stuff, but alright. So now I think my next step to get a little crazy, can I get a not this camera? What are you still trying to do? When I put you back into free, you better cut it out. Hey, it's in the air, that's all that counts. It's true. I mean, I overshot my my approach here. Guys, I swear when I do this for a living, you're in good hands. This isn't how I do this in the real world. Well, as far as you know anyway. I get to lie to you. Ooh! That snuck up on me. Okay, let's do some airshow bits here. Let's just put it on the ground. Let's not get crazy. It doesn't help that it's dark. Well, that's not going to bode well for us. Oh! Actually plopped. I kind of need to turn those off. I'm a little afraid. I thought maybe not this one. Okay. That checks out. Alright. Solid. Now, once again, silliness is about to ensue. For how many times I have to tell you this, bear with. Let's see if these poor wings are even going to be able to handle this. I like how I couldn't successfully bring... Goodness. Couldn't successfully bring that plane back, but I immediately went into something... And I think that counted as on the ground. So, I will usually we'll say, we'll be landing in X amount of minutes, right? But then I realized I changed it to that because I used to say we'll be on the ground in X amount of minutes. And I'm like, now the logical person would be able to tell I mean we'll be landing. But usually when you have a fear of something, it's not quite logical. So I was like, I guess I should reword that a little bit and stop telling people I'm going to get you on the ground. So like you said, no one mentioned how many pieces. We're going to be on the ground in this many minutes. Nobody said in what manner we'd be on the ground. So super silly, right? But like I said, Cessna 172 rides again. I do kind of want to see what I can get out of, like, how crazy can I get when I have a successful model before it's like, no, you can't, this isn't gonna work. And I think we might already have exceeded that threshold, but we'll see. You never know. Yeah, the weight is oh, let's see if we can pull this off. Oh yeah, I forgot it. That's not really gonna do us any good. You can do it, Jeb. You can do it. I almost reverted to launch, like redoing that was gonna do us any good. Alright, let's get slightly more realistic. I don't think control surfaces will get stupid and clip and be all crazy, but we'll find out. Haven is watching me put the landing gear back on the nacelles again, and it's like, stop it. Stop doing that. It's not going to work the way you think it's going to work. See, that's pretty perfect. I mean, it makes sense because the engines are centered up on the wings, but... let's try one thing at a time here. I was gonna try to play with the pitch of the wings a little bit, but that's madness. That's silliness. I also didn't SAS that time, but I kind of want to see what the stability looks like without Jeb trying to save us. Why are you pulling? Ooh, ooh. always the jiggle. Oh, I lost the nacelle. I was like, why did one landing gear end up doing that to us? Those look like tanks with flat sides rather than the nacelle piece with all the curves. I know. The problem is, I refuse to accept that that's not possible. I mean, because realistically, what I could and should kind of be thinking of is more of the mindset like, oh, you can put gear, you know, here, and like that's ridiculous and stupid in the real world, but like in a video game, that probably will let me do it, and probably will be quite successful actually as I do it, especially if that's behind, so we can even move that back a little bit. You know, let's go with that, and that's probably a marked improvement to me trying to throw it on the nacelle there. I can't look at it. I can't have it in my eyes. Look at this little plane. It's so goofy. Man, she really likes going left. I need it to at least... There we go. I was about to say, just lift before... We don't have SAS on, that's why. Jeb's better pilot than I am. Lift before the wonkiness takes over. Okay, we don't even need all this goodness. Still speeding up. 15% throttle. Oh, those are thirds there. Math. Okay. We're going way too fast, but I'm going to try to maneuver at least a little bit. Yeah, help bleed off some of that speed too. Figure we might as well bring something back with us, right? Okay, so I think I'm gonna have to accept ugly for now, anyway. You can do it. You can do it. How brave of you to assume you're coming back. You gotta make an incentive for yourself, right? If you're just like, oh, okay, well, it doesn't matter if we land or not. You know, what are you gonna do? Jeb's gonna jump out and parachute, and that's the end of it. But if you put some science in that flight deck, you're gonna be like, that's gotta make it home now. It just has to. I suppose I could activate navigation and make this a little easier to... Oh, way too fast. Stop it, Haven. Stop it. Now, what we can do... Doesn't really matter. I don't know why I'm like trying to pick a specific number, like like I know what's going on here. I do wish I knew why the gear was pulling though. That's a little obnoxious, but okay, that's just thrust, so we can play with more than one thing at a time here. I don't really want anything else to move except for the wings, but I know that's not really how that works. Realistically, that's probably too excessive, but well, that's good to know. You can tell which way you're facing there. Okay, we go game. Yeah, I'll need to. I don't know. I consider things like this, and I think about it. Oh, I think I blabbed about it a little bit in the beginning, but I'll blab about it again. I had a hard time not playing the career because I was having so much fun playing the game last week. So I had a hard time during the week this week not just cracking it open to keep playing. I'll put you prograde. Are you gonna stop that? No, not really. So I was gonna say, okay, let's get out of that then. Maybe I should come on off stream and, you know, play with plane designs and stuff like that. But then, you know, there won't be any explosions, and you might actually see me be good at something. So that's no fun. But like I said, me just flying a stupid plane around and not accomplishing anything in game is what's definitely going to make me lose track of time, because we are going to call it in about 20 minutes. So if there are any folks that have, there's not too many guys, and by guys I mean people, not too many people on right now streaming KSP, or at least there weren't when I started the session. But if anybody happens to have anybody that's on especially on the Twitch side is what I'm referring to, that I can drop everybody off on to go watch afterwards, I would love any recommendations. Otherwise, Twitch, folks on Twitch, I'm going to waste a little bit of your time at the end of the stream trying to track somebody down that's, you know, not a total monster to drop you off with, and we'll do a quick raid at the end of the stream here. YouTube folks, I wish there was some integration, but obviously, you know, competitors aren't going to allow that kind of stuff to happen, so that I could bring you with for that type of stuff. But anyway, yeah, so the next logical step is to, well, first stop being trash. That's obviously not going to happen in one session, but is to make a feasible plane that, number one, I have better control over, and I've got to think the size, and by size I mean the, you know, if we're looking at it this way, the width of the wings has a lot to do with that, and where the elevators are. Because it's stable if I don't touch it, but like as far as flying it, it's not great, obviously. So I need to scale up kind of like a plane that doesn't suck first. It doesn't fly like a real plane, and you're trying to fly it like a real plane. And then something that can take, you know, weight, can take a payload. So like our science experiments and stuff. I love how the VSI goes from 0 to like 5 immediately. It's like, wow. Yeah. Yeah, so I have plenty to do with that, but I won't do it off stream. Now, that being said, if one of the missions involves making a plane, then I'll have time to play around, and I'll give myself that cheat, if you will. We'll call it a pass. Let's go smaller engines too. I think maybe me with a garbage design and controllability being an issue. What tank is that? Mark 1. Is that this one? Yeah. No. No. Oh, that's what we've been screwing up. Okay. Yeah, too much weight and too much thrust really is not helping our cause any. So let's do more silliness. I am looking forward to getting... I'd like to compensate for my lack of skills with better gear. So if I can get, you know, the better landing gear and stuff like that, will probably assist me quite a bit. Let's go down. That was funny. All right, one more change in the build, and then we'll talk about ending stream here. I say that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay, interesting that only gives us the 1, but maybe that's really all we need. Make sure we throw the gear back on. Rotate that bad boy up. Okay, nose is still high. So little baby wings. Yeah, that makes sense. That center of gravity is above, so that should have a pitch up moment just sitting on the runway. Obviously with the gear, but I mean if you were to suspend it, it should pitch up. When I'm building planes, I don't have any T either. We're building whatever these creatures are. I don't know what we call him yet. I don't think I limited this. Yeah, I didn't do any of that stuff. Okay, that's the same tail. Rocking back and forth as always. That's cool. I was hoping the capsule was gonna clear the coast there and actually make it into the water. Obviously an engine made it. I watched the Patriot the other day for the first time in a while, and it made me think, that just made me think of the lady that's like, oh, fireworks. Okay, so we are obviously not ready for custom wings yet, but we definitely need more wings. Yeah, that was pretty good. Oh, snapping's on. Okay, I was trying to take credit. Well, there you go. Symmetry wasn't, so you take credit for nothing. That was better the first time. There we go. It looks more plainy also. I tried to go simple and went too simple. I need to be paying attention too for you guys what the volume level is like when these engines are on. So it's not just like engine noise blasting you out. Did I take this off? No, I didn't. I've noticed you're trying to pitch prior to 100. If I have the gear back further too, that might help that a little bit, but yeah, that's one of the things one of the on the huge laundry list of things I need to figure out. Being able to rotate properly is definitely something I've got to get a handle on. I mean, realistically, the gear should be right up next to that, so it rotates around it. Again, real world, we'll see. It makes sense that would be the same case here. If only watching someone else learn to do something weren't so agonizing. Okay, so that puts, you know, CG here. So the gear should be the pivot point for it now, a little better suited anyway. So I probably shouldn't even have to wait as long as I have. Yeah, that nose wheel doesn't even really... There we go. Okay. So at least that principle is pretty solidly accurate. I shouldn't be pitching down that hard. Yeah, levers are levers in the game. The gear placement should be better now. Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where, like, since it's a game, you're like, how much the aerodynamic model matters. And I should have remembered that, you know, it's better than I'm giving it credit for, really. The wings are obviously too far back because I'm constantly getting that pitch down. Okay. Well, let's go to the island. We're going to blow up anyway, so why not? Let's use our hubris and get 3.5 science. I think, well, Haven, you might not know since you're on PlayStation, but there's a mod, which I don't intend to get, but it's Mechanical Jeb, I think. Will let you, like, set stuff up, and I think one of the things is, like, you know, fly straight and level, and it'll kind of keep pitching for you. The engine's row center mass is contributing to nose down forces. Okay, so again, you know the game better than I do, right? But like here, no, you're right. You're exactly right. It's doing exactly what it would do in real life. I was gonna say without thrust, it shouldn't matter, but no, you're absolutely right. It is reacting exactly how it would. Yeah, because that should immediately start pitching me down. I'm in a little bit of a bank there, so that doesn't really count, but... What's interesting, though, and again, you know, that's just how it works. As soon as you counteract it and then stabilize, it shouldn't do that. It should only be accelerative forces, but... We're not here to talk about nerd stuff, right? It's just a space exploration, weird alien guy space build stuff game. I actually don't know what like the Steam explanation says, or description. That's the word I'm looking for. I need some lights on this bad boy too. You can do better than this. Also, doing this during the day probably would have been better for learning's sake, but because I'm like in my room squinting at the screen, like, wow, how far away does that look? It's merely rocket surgery. We don't need no degrees in brain science. We don't need no degrees in nothing. Doesn't hurt to have them, though. Go to school, kids. Stop listening to TikTok. Okay, old man, get off your soapbox. Oh, we're going to have a world's first for crashing into this hillside here. Oh man, I almost would have maybe done this properly. I'm too fast. I'm too fast. I was like, live, live. Interesting discovery. Oh man, I wanted to see what that said. Okay. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because it's fun and I'm enjoying myself. Hopefully, some of you are too. Like, I don't know why I keep reverting back to like, I'll have a lesson learned, and Haven will be like, yeah, dummy, that's what you should be done. And I'll be like, oh, okay, cool, that worked out. And then I'll go back and try something else that completely negates what we just went through. I hate looking at the wing clip through it, though. I wish you could, like, I don't know. I can later, I know, with parts and when I don't suck, but currently, neither one of those things are what's going on. All right, we'll try again. I thought about doing like Cessna 172, 73 with each iteration, but we'd just be renaming planes all night instead of actually doing... It might have said something about discovering the island airstrip. Well, I know what the context of what it said. I wanted to read what it actually said. All right, here we go. This is it. This is the successful flight. I should really move those. Pop that nose gear in just a little bit further, and I can move the mains down a little bit as well. I think it was about 100 meters per second. Yeah, okay. See how... Yeah, much more stable. What I should do is kind of undersling those engines a little bit. That way you can kind of throttle up and save yourself a little bit. I'm going to talk about plane stuff even more now, and probably drive you crazy talking about plane stuff. And I don't even have all the facts as I'm trying to remember the story. Airliner, don't remember who, don't remember where they were going. It was a 727? 07? 27. I think it was a 27. This story would be much easier to just look up and be like, hey, go check this story out. I don't even know what made me think about it. Oh, the underslung engine comment. So 2 underslung engines and an engine back on the vertical stab there. And they lost hydraulics, design of the 27, back at the time anyway. So they couldn't turn, basically, right? So you can use differential thrust. You increase engine on the right side. It causes more thrust, obviously, but it also will advance. I can't really... Yeah, there we go. I can kind of show you. It'll yaw a little bit, right? And that yaw makes this wing move forward faster than this wing, which creates lift. So then you get roll out of it. So they'd use differential thrust and like increase this one and then get into a roll. And then they'd wait until it swung around. And that's how they ended up lining up on a runway. And then they tried at the last second, like lined up to this point where they were like in a landing attitude, like slowing appropriately, like pretty crazy story. And it's such a good story until you get to the end of it, because you get to the end of the story, they're about to touch down, and they had it was a flight instructor in the back, had him come up, and he applied thrust at the very last second, like when they were going to touch down on the runway. And his thought was the underslung engines will help pitch the nose up and put them in a flare right before they actually landed. Well, it didn't work. It should have, but the engine spun up at different times, and it kind of spun out of control, and like a bunch of people died. But like when I say a bunch of people died, you know, the whole plane should have died, right? So like it's still a good story, but you're like rooting so hard for this crew to make this landing happen, and then like you get to the end and you're like, and 37 people died, and you're like, oh, like what could you just lie to me? Tell me it went way better than that. All right, I need to kind of balance out. First we need to get lined up on the runway earlier, but I need to balance out how much lift I can get versus how fast I'm coming in. Okay, I was about to say, I thought I killed the engine there. I also need to be able to be better about my camera angle there. See, I'm trying to dive for it, and I'm just too fast. Like, there's no way that's going to work out. Oh, I thought for a second at least the pod would make its way. Can we get it? No. All right, wing placement is now an issue. My watch is like, it's time to stand up, and I'm like, I know. That means it's time to stop doing what I'm doing right now. Just a little bit longer, Mom. All right, further away for stability's sake. I think those are actually... Okay, I didn't know if they were on the fuselage or if they actually were in the wings, but... We talked about dropping the nose gear a little bit. We're good on rotation. That's not like super feasible either, but I would promise to you that I will stop talking about real life plane stuff, but I'm sorry, I'm just not. That's probably very unlikely. There's in Family Guy, right? Quagmire's a pilot. And after they crash, I don't know if you guys are, if you watch, you'll be picking up with the episode I'm talking about. They crash and like, oh my God, Peter, you made me crash the plane. And he goes, come on, Quagmire. Nobody wants to talk about planes as much as you do. Rotating at around 100, so guessing your stall speed is closer to 80. You might want to bleed off a fair bit more speed as you're lining yourself up. No, I'm obviously too fast. And incidentally, if you're talking stall speed, I imagine you know at least something about some aerodynamics. Yeah, stall speed and rotation speed are not, I mean, they're not related, but they're not the same. Again, I'm talking real life. I know. This is a game. But, yeah, realistically, I don't know, and again, you probably know better than I do. I don't know what I'm talking. We can go try this. I don't think this game has... Like, I don't think your wing stalls. Just based on the fact that you can just, like, yank back and throw a million G's in and do, like, an aero brake turn and then, like, just fly. Just keep flying. So, I'm pretty sure that there's no stall speed. Yeah, rotation speed is more based on the lift that you're getting out of the wing. So V loft is what you're looking for when you're going to rotate and actually get lift. You can rotate immediately. You're just not going to go anywhere until you hit V loft. And I know I could just fly over to the island at like, you know, maybe 100, maybe 80, but then we'd be sitting here watching me do this forever. I also could speed us up, but I know I'm going to botch that. So let's see what happens when I do that. I know. Can anything, you know, hinder the structural integrity of the vessel more than me flying it? I'm not worried about warping. At least we don't have to painfully watch this flight this doomed flight that inevitably will end in a fireball. I've also been like cutting this super short pattern. climb in there either. It just need to be level. Just level, old Jibby boy. Alright, let's cut this, and then we'll bring it up as needed here. I mean, his KSP speed less than ludicrous seems somehow wrong. I know, it's funny, as soon as the, you know, it starts giving you the indication, like, hey, you're going too fast, I'm like, no, I'm not. It's fine. That is except in the seconds before touchdown. I commented on how I'm cutting in too short a pattern. Now I'm going on like a 10-mile final out here. Yeah, when you're pulling up and that G meter comes up and nothing happens, that's how I know they didn't, if they did do any type of stalling, it's only based on speed, which is better than nothing, right? Like, I'm not trying to sit here and bash this, how the game does aerodynamics. It's obviously a very good game. I'm just not very good at it. 'Tis my fault. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Maybe. We're gonna blame the gear. As all the pieces go flying out. I almost just like accepted Jeb being dead. And I don't save, right? So I don't save until the end of the game. So, or the end of the session rather. So that would be a catastrophic loss. Old Jebediah. We'd have to go plant a flag on the moon for him. Okay, I wanted to pop out real quick and see. Ooh, okay. Well, we can do small gear for 90. Okay, 90 is just outside of our reach. So, as we've already gone a couple minutes over, I think it's a good time to wind it down after failure after failure after failure. No, honestly, just kind of playing with it a little bit and then kind of going from what I want it to look like versus what it should look like. Haven, thanks so much for your pointers on stuff with that. Real life versus game, and then kind of realizing, you know, yeah, the real life stuff is in the game. You just have to do the game stuff and not the real life stuff. I think that'll get me building a little better. There's still going to be crashes, right? There's going to be sessions where I'm just going to sit there and build something stupid and then crash it and then try it over and over and over again. And that sounds super exciting, right? But that's bound to happen. But I think what we need to do next session, next week on Kerbal Space Sundays, is get to the moon, because that's our next one, right? Yeah, that's all we got. All they care about is that we swing by it. So we'll just build us up a goofy rocket expansion on the orbiter. Let's just take a peek at it real quick while we're yakking about it. Orbiter. I mean, we can crack on, even if we do boosters in thrice, it's not too far off where it needs the Delta V to go around the moon. It's funny how it sends you to the moon first, even though it's easier to get like onto Minimus. Anyway, I digress yet even further. You know, we can outfit this a little better. Maybe even slap some engine. Well, are we at part limit still? Yeah, we're still at part limit. So there's that. Might need to do some fundraising. 225, because we blasted all our money on goofiness. It's easier to land on Minimus because that's tiny. It's mini. Yeah. I'll have to think about that, actually. I might take our crap plane and see if we can gobble up some of these crew report focused observations. Now, this isn't a ton of money either, though, right? So that's the problem. This is a good amount of money, so we'll have to play a little bit. I know I can do, like, we can do what we need to without upgrading this. Like, I can take the fuel off of it. We can go to solid rocket boosters. There's a bunch of stuff we can do to make this more efficient. I mean, I've even got the 400s versus the 800s all through here. So we can already cut down on 3 parts just by looking at it real quick. Probably more than that. So we'll figure that out. We can head to the moon. We'll play with planes more, and there'll be there'll likely be a lot more explosions and sciencey good stuff. But that'll be next week. I promise I will continue to not play this save. I will do missions though, so hopefully the proficiency level goes up, because I can only imagine as the proficiency level goes up, the entertainment value will as well. Where do we have, like, we need to find the, I don't think it's the same music in every building, is it? Well, you guys are sick of spaceplane hangar music if it's different. No, it's the same. Okay. Kerbal elevator music, as you will. That's where I'll leave you. Everyone, thanks so much for coming out tonight. Kerbal Space Sundays. This was day 2. We'll continue. I might tick the amount of Kerbal Space streams up, especially for the next 2.5 weeks. Work is virtually non-existent, so I will be around to play games and hopefully share those games with you. Yeah, if you have any interest in checking out new games, tomorrow, same time that we started Kerbal Space Sundays tonight, we're going to try Void Train. So that's 2 hours of gameplay before the Steam window, return window closes. My series before the window closes on if we want to keep Void Train or not. So that'll be tomorrow night. Tuesday is Whispers of Westgrove. Had the developers reach out and see if I would play that, give them some feedback and stuff like that. That's a horror puzzle game. I should have mentioned Void Train is a literally on rails raft equivalent, basically. So if you have any interest in those 2 games, please come on by Monday and Tuesday. If not, back to normal schedule, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to include Kerbal Space Sundays on Sunday. So thanks again so much for coming out. Twitch folks, if you would, stick around. We're going to see if we can drop in on another Kerbal Space Program player. YouTube folks, as always, I wish I could take you with me. But Haven, thanks so much. Al, good to see you again. We will see you next time, hopefully. And if you're watching this at a later time, I'm elderb. Take care.